All right, welcome everybody. Nice to see you all today, and thank you for coming, and thank you to Leanne and Steve for having me come out and give some information regarding frauds and scams and internet safety, social media, all that other fun stuff that we get to deal with today in our electronic age, right? I always make jokes, but gone are the days of, and it's rare to see this stuff. And I always, when I go to talk to the kids at the schools, I'm like, what is this called again? It's a piece of paper. So gone are the days, well, you're getting like more and more. You guys and girls know that as soon as you go into anywhere today, well, you know what, we're not printing that anymore. Sorry, you can find it on this website. You can get it electronically. You can, you know, more and more places are moving to that now. So, and ironically, the Competition Bureau of Canada, I don't know who was lucky enough to get this book here. I only have a very select few of them. That's a great little book. It's called The Little Black Book of Scams, and it's put out by the Competition Bureau of Canada. And ironically, they told me last year, we're not printing you any more of those. If anybody wants any more, you can go online and print them off yourself. So, really? Yeah. So that just goes to show the way everybody's moving. So. I'm just going to kind of scrape the tip of the iceberg today. As you probably already know, that these scams and frauds and everything that we see and deal with we deal with as the police, the OPP here in town, deal with on a daily basis pretty much now. And I was talking to Leanne about this earlier, it's changing every single day. The minute we can shut down one, there's 10 more new evolving ones at the doorstep waiting to happen. So just a quick introduction to myself. Again, I know most of you in here. There are some faces that I don't know. So for those people, I am Constable Phil Young. I'm with the East Algoma OPP here. I'm based out of Elliot Lake, but we cover Blind River and Thessalon as well. So that's our East Algoma catchment area. And I've been with the OPP, this is my 21st year now, so in Elliot Lake. I do a lot of the handle the schools. Like under my umbrella, I do the public speaking presentations. I handle the schools. I do the off-road stuff in the fall, boating in the summer, and sleds in the winter. So it kind of got me pulled all in different directions right now. So back in 95, 96 roughly is when the internet became available for public use. Roughly in that time frame. I mean, it was developed obviously years prior to that, but it was around that time frame is when the public began to be able to access it and use it and that type of stuff. Does anybody not remember the 95, 96 time frame? So originally it was not meant obviously for the malicious purposes that these scammers and online fraudsters and stuff like that are using it for today. Don't get me wrong, I'm going to talk a lot about the negative aspects of social media and the internet, but there's a lot of good in social media and online usage as well. Research, email, chat rooms, games, news, movies, sports. This is again just the tip of the iceberg of what everybody uses it for today. How much information is out there about you? How many profiles do you have? What sites have you signed up for? Do you have any online memberships? Do you make online purchases? Members of sports teams? Pictures in the paper, and on and on and on. Just to give a quick example of that, if, let's say, Elliot Lake today were to come in the Collins Hall, take a picture of us as a group, and post it on the internet, or now post it to social media, it is now available for everybody in the entire world to be able to view. The second they hit post. Number one thing is they need our permission to be able to post that if they append our names to that post. Because now they've appended a name to the picture. So that's what I mean by what information is out there about you. Those Apple users, if you're a Mac, you may use Safari as a search engine. the Android people, Google, Bing, that kind of stuff. So once in a while what we say is just run your name on social media. See what comes back about you, because you might be surprised on what's out there that you didn't know. Maybe the Standard newspaper took a picture of you down at Westview Park and appended your name to it years ago. And that type of stuff comes up, right? So again, permission is required if they were to come in here and take a picture of us, if they append your name to that photo. I can't stress that enough when I go in to give these presentations to the schools. And we'll talk more about online purchases and stuff like that in a couple more slides. Again, that's just have you search your name using one of the search engines, see what comes back about you. Everything that you're doing when you have access to the internet is leaving what's called a digital footprint. No different than a physical footprint when we came walking in here today and I had sand on my boots and I walked over to this spot. If somebody were to trace my steps or try to follow where I went, they could just follow my footprints over to here. No different than if I'm going to refer to that when I say we, to the police or the OPP, were to conduct an investigation and we deemed it necessary to seize that electronic device, whether it be an investigation pertaining to criminal harassment, online threats, whatever it happens to be, depending on the seriousness of it, and we go into that person's house or business and we seize that computer or we seize that cell phone, we can now dissect that electronic device and pull off every single piece of information on it, and to the point where we're tracking that person's digital footprint. So we see what sites they visited, who they texted, when they received a text, pictures, on and on and on. You can imagine this is it's a super time-consuming task for our forensics units to be able to do this, so they're backlogged quite a bit, but they can extrapolate a ton of information from these devices. You can kind of see this, for example, if let's say you're on Google today and you want to research basketball nets. And you'll type in basketball nets and you'll get a whole bunch of pages of information on basketball nets. So tomorrow you go on to Google again and you start typing in B, A, you might make it to S, but I doubt it. And it's going to auto-populate basketball nets in there for you. So whether you like it or not, these search engines that you're using are storing this digital evidence on your electronic device. And you can't do anything about that. It's automatically storing that information. You can go into cookies, but I won't get into that because that's a whole, yeah, I know what you mean. And we'll talk a little bit about that at the end. Digital evidence, so mainframe computers, PlayStation, gaming boxes like PlayStations, USB drives, digital cameras, cell phones, laptops. When I talk to various schools and different ages now at the schools, they're surprised that these gaming devices store digital evidence. So we have had one occurrence that I know of where I think it was grade 5 or 6 students were online gaming and there was some pretty nasty stuff being sent back and forth to people they were playing against, and it got into the point of uttering death threats back and forth. So we didn't have to seize the device, but I make sure that the kids know, or the teens know, that yes, those devices do store digital evidence. And if we do have to seize it, we can extract that information back. Digital shadows, data is automatically collected about you, what you show interested in the web. That's what I was talking about with the Google. Search engines normally log your IP address unless you revoke these settings or permissions using privacy controls for each site. Does anybody not know what I mean by IP addresses? No? Okay, so we have a few. As soon as you use an electronic device and you access the internet, your electronic device will give off what's called an IP address. And it's a very unique string of numbers and letters that are very unique to that electronic device, kind of like a DNA of a person. And it's now giving locations, the location services as well for that electronic device, which can be helpful and harmful in different ways. Helpful to us if we have to track or trace somebody who's sending maybe death threats or inappropriate pictures or receiving inappropriate pictures, that kind of stuff. We can get the GPS coordinates through that IP address and locate that electronic device, where it's coming from. I know there's all sorts of different, how do I say this correctly, not so nice websites out there where you can disguise your IP address or send it to someplace else, or have an IP flip, they call it. So your IP address from your computer or electronic device jumps from, it's very, very difficult to track. So it'll show up in Canada and then over in the US, and then 30 seconds later it's over in another country. So yes, the people who are doing malicious things on the internet, they will use these types of disguises. I'm going to leave it at that. I won't get into too much about that as well. Terms of service agreement, Wi-Fi, public places. What is it? Did you read it? What does it say? Many, many places now will offer free Wi-Fi, which is great, right? Because it's free. Anything free is awesome. However, just be leery of the inherent dangers when it comes to open Wi-Fi. The city, I believe, has many the public parks, Westview Park, the beaches, here, yeah, the Collins Hall. It's just open, right? Like it's not password protected? No. True hotspots, yeah. So I know the answer to this, but there's a terms of service agreement before you can access the free Wi-Fi, like anywhere. And that's to protect the city, or to protect McDonald's, or to protect Tim Hortons, or at a hotel you're staying at where they offer free Wi-Fi. And I get it. I know. Everybody grabs that scroll bar and zips it to the top and clicks the box at the bottom. I agree, just to get on, because the print is super minuscule fine print. What do you have it in? 0.2 font, maybe? No? Oh, okay. I'm kidding. Just joking, Steve. Yes, it is. Yeah. But yeah, I get it. Most people just grab that scroll bar, zip it to the top, click the box at the bottom that I agree, just to get on to use the Wi-Fi. All we're saying is, once in a while, have a read. I'm not saying you have to read everything word for word, but just skim through some of that stuff.
Sorry, but I was full on the internet. I bought a bottle of thing for my skin, and it is the company who do it. And I end up that I also in the same time bought Just Fit things, because that company did not protect, and Just Fit, that I don't know, or Wellness, they have many names. They were able to go there by buying the stuff and go on the internet.
Okay.
And I end up paying $100 on my credit card for it, because the credit card was not able to be in contact with Just Fit.
Yeah.
Because Just Fit has so many names.
Yep.
And I bought an exercise for a year, and so.
We'll get into more specifics after. Yeah, it's okay. No, you'll see a couple. I'll give some of those examples in a minute too. Just getting back to Wi-Fi, just be careful what I was saying was, just skim through some of those terms of service agreement. There's a lot of information in there that you're agreeing to that if you were to read some of that, you might not necessarily agree to. If you were to really read the fine print in there, there's a ton of information. And again, it's to protect the person who's offering you their service. So we'll get into purchasing. Does anybody not use the internet for online purchasing? Okay. You don't? Okay. Stick it to your brother. Yeah. Okay, so that's great. And I don't mean to single you two out because that's awesome. But for the rest of you in here, be very leery when you're on free Wi-Fi zones like Tim Hortons, McDonald's, hotels possibly, Collins Hall, City, that type of stuff. Just remember that it's possible for other people who are on that free Wi-Fi server to be able to have access to everything that you're doing on your electronic device. Very, very simple for them to do that. So if you're inputting in credit card numbers, if you're accessing personal information, bank accounts, personal pictures, if you're sending texts, all that kind of stuff, it's very easy for somebody to gain access to that. Or even screenshot image your phone. I've seen that before too. We had a teacher at, sorry, not screenshot, but screen image. It was a mirror image of the person's phone. I had a high school teacher. I was giving this presentation at a type of presentation up at ELSS, and he said, yeah, one of the teachers said, I have a buddy of mine who we went into Starbucks and had a coffee in Ottawa, and he was just, you know, it didn't take much technical wizardry to, within about 30 seconds, he says, look what I just did. So he had a mirror image on his phone of everybody else's phone or laptop in that Starbucks. And he could see exactly what they were doing, including access to the cameras on their phones. So he was actually, he'd take a picture of them. Like the person was on their phone texting somebody, and he'd take a picture of them, and he'd have it on their phone, on his phone. So it's that simple. So just be aware of that when you're in the free Wi-Fi areas, because it's wide open. Wireless internet in your home. Does anybody not use Wi-Fi at their residence? Do you have access to the internet though? No, you don't. Awesome. I mean that in a good way. Do you have internet or no? No, even, that's great, okay. And I'm not saying the rest of you are bad because you use Wi-Fi. Just, so whoever your internet provider is that would have come into your home and set things up would have probably provided you a cord like this, right? That's an Ethernet cable. So the most secure way you're going to access the internet is through this cable. So if you plug this in directly to your electronic device, your computer, you can't do it with a phone, and plug it into the wall, you don't have to worry about Wi-Fi and passwords and all this other stuff, because you're directly linked into the internet now. It's very unrealistic to think that you're going to drag this cord around everywhere in your house to be able to use your electronic device, though. So everybody uses Wi-Fi.
Can we use that cord? Can we buy that cord?
For sure you can.
Okay.
Yeah. I know a lot of people will have like their main computer plugged in with the Ethernet cable directly plugged in. And then they'll use their phone or a laptop or something else that they can move around their house to use their Wi-Fi. I'm not saying Wi-Fi is bad. Just make sure you set up a very strong password and have it password protected.
Well, we got ours in different rooms.
Yeah.
Eastlake won't put it one where the room is that we have it. So
Put a what?
put a wall unit.
Oh, a wall unit. Okay. Yeah. Usually they'll just give you one jack.
That was jack that was.
Yeah. And they won't come up and move it?
Oh no.
Oh.
They don't do that anymore.
Can't help you there.
You could buy another one in the store that you could carry with your machine.
No, you got the wire you put the cord into so you can move the rotor.
So if you are, like I said before, most secure is Ethernet cable. Wi-Fi, if you are using Wi-Fi, you can take it one step further and use what's called a VPN. This is a virtual privacy network.
Which is offered by Opera.
Numerous companies will offer it. And you'll have to pay for that, though, that service.
Opera is free.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. It's on their site.
Oh, okay.
Because Opera is a browser.
And is it a VPN?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so those who don't know what a VPN is, it's one extra level added security to accessing the internet via Wi-Fi. So example is my computer here. It's a government computer issued by the OPP. whenever it is accessed, whenever I have access to the internet, or whenever I do access the internet, it has to go through a VPN, virtual privacy network, to be able to, for me to be able to access the internet. So it's just that one extra level added security. The next would be your provider data plan, which is on your phones, Wi-Fi password protected, and then the least secure level, again, would be the free and open Wi-Fi.
I had an old iPad, and I bought a new one, and I was trying to set it up so I could transfer everything.
Mm-hmm.
There's a new passcode on my new one, and I had it going, and I had it on internet. All of a sudden, and this is in my home, and I've been using that same password. My husband uses it. It's ours. Something came on from somewhere, and it wanted my info on that. I had to turn the iPad off and get off the internet immediately. And I don't know who got access to my iPad on the internet, because I live in an apartment and it's my own. It doesn't go out of the apartment.
Yeah.
It pretty well scared me.
Yeah, I don't know. But you did the right thing. Turn it off or power it off.
Yeah, power it off.
Leave it for an hour.
And I left it alone for the day.
Yeah, the day's even better. Too much information can be risky. Everything you post, this is more when I give this presentation to the schools, but everything you post becomes permanent and can be saved and copied over and over and over again. So the message I stress here is that once you hit send on that for that message or that picture or that text even, it's completely out of your control. That send button, I always compare it to like a trigger on a gun, right? If I press that send button, that message is gone. So the recipient now of that message or that text has 100% control over that message. And they can do whatever they want with it. They can save it, they can copy it, they can send it to everybody in their contact list, and then those people on their contact list sends it to everybody on their contact list, and it just snowballs out of control. And these are the issues that we deal with in the schools today. But when I say I compare it to my gun, or a gun, like pulling a trigger, because if I were to shoot that staff only sign and I pull the trigger and a bullet goes out, and I think, oh crap, I shouldn't have shot that sign. You know, same with a text. Everybody's all heated in the moment because my girlfriend talked to his whatever, and this is just the feuding that we see in the schools, and I'm sitting there and my thumbs are going a mile a minute on my phone and I'm drafting up a pretty nasty message and I hit send. I can't pull that back now.
What happens on the iPhones now, you can send it, but you can also tap on that message and delete send. Because there is an option to delete send on that now.
Yep. We'll talk about that in a minute too.
Question and answer.
Yep. Yep. Did you have a question now, or?
Well, I think I have a modern-day scam on my. I tried to post something on Marketplace.
We'll get into that in a minute. And more after. Leanne's got a table set up over there for these very issues. So, yes, you can delete it from the phone or the screen or anything like that, but there's still ways of retrieving that back. Still ways. So just remember that if you're on the internet, there's still ways of pulling that message back. So just getting back to that message, when I send, if you send that message, no different than I can't go back now and pull that bullet out of that staff only sign and tuck it back in here and pretend that nothing happened. It's gone. And I can't stress that enough with the kids today when I give this presentation in the schools, because they have no clue. They're living in the moment today and they don't care about tomorrow. So that's another whole issue. We won't get into that right now. And then I talked to them about digital bullying as opposed to face-to-face. When I can say this in this room because we're all a little bit more mature. Gone are the days of the bullying, you know, meet you out at the smoking section, hey Leanne? Because you talk to my girlfriend or my boyfriend and we'll settle this at 3 o'clock. And you go out, hash it out, you move on. The next day everything's good. Today, it's all this. The bullying is done digitally and it never ever stops. It carries on and on and on and on, because at when we went to school at 3 o'clock, I knew I was going home and I didn't have to deal with the bully until tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Now, what's the last thing the kids see before they go to bed?
The phone.
What's the first thing they see when they wake up in the morning?
They're on it 24/7.
24 hours a day. They might get a little bit of sleep during the night, but this is what they're on all the time. So if they're getting bullied at school, this is the way it's coming into them. So it never, ever leaves them. With that, these are some of the criminal code charges that we deal with now. Publication of intimate image without consent. Knowingly publishes, transmits, sells, makes available, advertises an intimate image of a person knowing the person is depicted, did not give their consent to that. A lot of jargon there that just means if the person, it's an intimate image, so it might mean a private image of them changing with a significant other, and it was taken without their permission and posted or shared, is pretty much what all that means. Example of that is we had an issue, we had an occurrence a couple years back at one of our high schools where a girl decided to go into the change room and take a picture of another girl changing without their knowledge or consent. She then decided to share that picture with 4 other people, 4 other friends, and those 4 other friends didn't tell a teacher, tell a parent, tell us, delete it from their phone, and decided to share it with X amount of other people on their contact list. And you can see how there's just snowballed completely out of control until the next day when that poor girl came in and everybody in the hall was laughing at her and sharing the picture back and forth. So some of these charges did come up and some of them were charged with criminal offenses. Corrupting morals, makes, prints, publish, and this deals more with the people who receive the text or the picture and decide to be engaged in that activity and pass it on to other people. So we run into a lot of cases where students will say, hey, I didn't write that text. I saw it, but I didn't write it. Or I got the picture on my phone, but I didn't take it, so I'm not guilty of anything. Well, yeah, you are. And that's where these charges come in. Distribution, and I should have distribution and possession of child pornography. Heavy, 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 very, very serious charges that our teens and youth today have no clue that they're even committing. And when I tell them about this, and that I'll go back to the example of the girl who was changing in the change room. And the girl who went in to take the picture, now all of a sudden has committed possession of child pornography. Because the girl who she just took a picture of was actually topless at the time, underage. So she is in possession of child pornography on her phone. She then decided to share it with 4 other of her friends. So now she just committed distribution of child pornography. Those 4 recipients that received the picture are now committing possession of child pornography because they just got it on their phones. When I tell them this, it sinks in a little bit more, but most of them have no clue that this is going on. And they don't even think of the ramifications afterwards because they're just so caught up in the moment of what's going on at the time. They weren't charged with that because that's very, very serious. There was some other criminal code charges that did come out of that investigation, though. Again, photos and videos, once you post a photo or video, you can never get it back. Even though you delete it from your computer, it is still accessible. Computer, phone. Just because you're in a fight with somebody at, I won't even say the school. You're in an argument with somebody and you're texting them back and forth and there's some bad stuff going on, text that you shouldn't be, some things that you shouldn't be saying. Might be teetering on uttering threats. Just because you now send those messages and go over to the right side of your text message history and you check those boxes and you go back into the menu and press delete, And you think, whew, good, they're gone. Nobody's going to know that was me. Absolutely not. They are still accessible for us to pull back. We can retrieve that if we have to conduct an investigation pertaining to such. So they're never really gone. We can still retrieve those messages and pictures back.
Even if we use that cable?
Even if you use that cable. Yep. Webcams. Does anybody use webcams in here for maybe FaceTime or Skype? No, sometimes, some, yes, a little bit. With the grandkids, yeah, to keep in touch with people. So we haven't seen this too much. It's more of a thing of the past right now, but if somebody does have access to your internet provider and you're using a webcam at the time or your camera is on, they now have access to your camera on your computer or your electronic device. So keeping that in mind, if you're not using your camera, like I have on this laptop, there's a little eye on the top and there's a switch on and off. My old laptop didn't have that switch, so they used to tell us just to put a piece of opaque tape over that eye. In case something were to have, or somebody were to have access to that, they won't have access to the camera. If it's a globe type or an external camera, which a lot of people use with their computers, if you're not using it, just unplug it from the wall.
Well, I heard with the new TV they could do, if you walk naked in your living room, they will see it. There is a way.
If you're dressed or naked, they can see you. Not just when you're naked.
Okay, that was
I know, I'm kidding.
example.
I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
Anyway, I mean, if you go on your TV and you go like, okay, it is not accompanying you fully, okay? So if you go, example, to next click,
Yes?
because they go through next click,
Yeah.
they could see you on your TV, but in my TV, I never found out to turn it off.
So that's if you have, what she's talking about is a smart TV.
Yes.
If your TV has capability to access the internet for Netflix, Amazon, all that other stuff. If you don't have a smart TV that has capability to access the internet, you don't have to worry about walking around your house naked. You can walk around all you want.
I feel I'm have that one a lot.
That's pretty much any TV in the last 10 years.
Pretty much, yes. Yep.
Even if it's not qualified as a smart TV, you
Yep.
still run wireless off of
Whatever it happens to be. Yep.
IT boxes or whatever you have is
Still accessible. Yep.
Even the baby cameras now.
Baby cams too. Yep.
My daughter has one, and she was at a restaurant. She could watch her kid.
Mhm.
I was babysitting, and she has a certain way of putting the baby in the crib so she can see in the camera. Didn't tell me that, so I put the baby the other way. She starts panicking. Mom, baby's not in there, so they left the restaurant. Came to see baby's sound asleep.
Yep. Yep.
another bad one. All those things in here.
Yep.
Okay, but my question is, can we turn it off on the TV like we do with the computer?
It's going to have to be, it's probably very specific to your TV. It will be in the menu guide somewhere that you can turn it off. I don't know what kind of TV you have, so I don't know how.
I see guys on the computer in Canada, my husband, and he did not find it.
Call your internet provider too. Sometimes they will help you with that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. This is just a YouTube video. It's not working too well on my computer, but it deals with sextortion. Does anybody not know what I mean by sextortion? Okay. So extortion with the sex portion attached to it. We have seen a few cases, well, quite a few cases in town where our population and our demographics, the scammers and online predators per se, know who they're targeting. So, I'll give the example of our senior population. A lot of them will be in town without family, without friends, so they're quite lonely. And they'll access chat lines or chat forums or online social media platforms where they talk to other seniors or other people with similar interests or whatever happens to be. The last statistics through the CAFC, that's the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre, say that approximately 75% of people who are on chat forums, on social media platforms, or dating sites are on there for a malicious purpose. Roughly 3/4 of the people who are on there now. They're not on there because they're nice and they want to be your friend. They're on there because they want money. So, that being in mind, our senior population and the people who are on some of these sites, and I'm not just picking on the seniors, it's many other people as well. We've dealt with teenagers who have come in to report these similar types of instances where they are on a dating site or a chat forum, and they start talking to somebody on the other end who they think is that person that they're posing to be. And they're obviously not. It could be a group of people, it could be, and they're usually somebody from a different country. Over time, they gain their trust. It can be a couple days, it could be a couple months. We've seen it up to 2 to 3 years. Where they've really gained the person's trust, each other's trust for that matter, to the point where they start sharing things that they probably shouldn't be sharing. Intimate images, topless photos, nude photos, that type of stuff. Once that person or group of people on the other end have that picture in their possession, they will start extorting you for money. Saying things like, if you don't send me, it usually starts off with the cases that we've seen start off around $500, and then it climbs from there. We've seen it as high as $20,000 to $30,000. No matter what you pay, the cases that we've seen thus far, the person still sends a picture out. And they threaten to send it to everybody on your contact list, your friends, your family, everybody at work, because they now know where you work, and that picture still goes out. So they've extorted them now for X amount of thousands and thousands of dollars, and the picture still goes out. Can we do anything about that? Not normally. Roughly, CAFC has said, I'll get into that in a second with some stats, but that's, again, the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre say that roughly only 3 to 5% of these people who fall victim to this actually come in to report it because of that's a whole nother presentation. Embarrassment, shame, right? They don't want anybody to know. They just ignore it. Okay, I was a fool. I shouldn't have done that. So the 3 to 5% that actually come in to tell us about this or report it, wow, and we've seen quite a few already who have come in to report these types of occurrences to us. And that's just locally here. Won't get into that too much. We'll kind of switch gears to a little bit over to tactics. We'll get into some scamming tactics, and I'm sure everybody in here has got either the phone calls, they used to be CRA, the computer emails, now the texting. I was just showing Leanne, just when I was rolling in here this afternoon, I got a text from, I think it was, I have to hold this out now.
You're getting old.
I'm getting old, I need my glasses, I know. From USPS saying that my package has arrived. And to click on this link to retrieve your package, right?
Yeah.
All this kind of stuff. So your Netflix account has been deactivated, and click here to reactivate your account. And so the tactics that they use, urgency, you'll see the ones who have the little book of black scams, you'll see more in there. There's the top 10 Canadian frauds. I know it's very difficult to see, but this is going back to, 2021? 21. Over $163 million reported just to the CAFC, Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. $163 million, and that's the 3 to 5% of people who actually report this stuff. So the other 95% of the people Don't even report it. Very, very, very lucrative for these scammers. Very lucrative. Big money. We see this probably on again, a weekly basis of just people who have fallen victim to these types, any type of scam in town here alone. I've personally gone to 2 big ones that I can think of right now where the scammer, one was a grandparent scam. Does everybody know what I mean by the grandparent scam? Your grandchild is in trouble in whatever country. Please forward some money so we can, get them out of jail or trouble or whatever it happens to be. And the other was a, sorry, I can't remember what the other one was right now, the basis behind it. But the gentleman was at Canadian Tire buying Google Play cards. Okay, so these scammers will use money denomination cards. For those who don't know what that is, you'll see it at retail stores, Shoppers Drug Mart, gas bars, Canadian Tire, and it's on the big vestibule thing that you can spin around for usually give them as presents and gifts for. You scratch off. It's kind of like a lottery ticket on the back. It's got that film. It's a plastic card. You scratch that off, and it gives a serial number on the back. And as soon as you provide that serial number to whoever it happens to be, in these cases the scammers, that denomination, whether it be a $100 card, a $20 card, is just as good as cash in their pocket. Instantly. It's gone.
Okay, I recently, one of my friends, she received a phone call with the voice of her nephew saying, "Hey, I am in trouble, please send me money in my account." Okay, and of course you don't know his account.
Mm-hmm.
And she just felt bizarre about it, so she called her nephew and she said, "Do you really need money?" And he said, "I never asked you money." So they registered the voice of her nephew when he was speaking with somebody.
That's right.
And they use his voice to, I don't know how it works, but
yeah.
They use his voice to call her and ask her money.
Yep. Yep.
And good that she has the permission to call the nephew to be sure.
Yep. So they're very good at what they're doing right now. Yes. I'll give you the example of the gentleman I spoke to at Canadian Tire, because we got a call, and most retail stores here in town are pretty good at kind of picking up on this stuff when somebody's going through their cash or their till at a grocery store and they're purchasing $500, $600, $1,000 worth of money denomination cards, whether it be Apple iTunes cards, Google Play, Visa prepaid cards, we've seen vanilla cards. So the retailer store will call us because they'll first talk to the person, and we know it's really none of our business what you want to spend your money on. That's fine. However, we still will attend to try to educate that person and inform them. No different than the retail stores can question the person or whoever the purchaser is of those cards and say, "Hey, what's going on here? Like, are you buying these as gifts? Are you?" And a lot of the time, that person who's purchasing that card will have the scammer on the phone with them at the time. They're live on the phone still, and they're leading them on how to do this. If the cashier asks you what you're purchasing these cards for, tell them it's for a gift for your son or your grandson. If the police come, tell them to mind their own business. If this happens, do this. And they're live, they're on the phone with them, the cases that we've seen here. The gentleman I spoke to at Canadian Tire was involved in one of those romance scams. Romance scam is similar to the sextortion, where you gain each other's trust and they just keep kind of leading the person along, claiming to be a person who they're not on the other end. "I'm going to meet you, we'll get married." I'm speaking like this because this is what the gentleman told me at Canadian Tire. And it had been going on for just shy of 2 years. And I tried to tell this man that it's not going to happen. And he was there trying to buy $1,000 worth of Apple iTunes cards because the lady who he thought was a lady wanted to, number one, pay for medication for her stepchild, because in whatever country she said she was living in, couldn't get access to cancer medication. This is the stories that they tell. And she needed money for her plane ticket. And she promised him they were going to meet in Toronto at the Pearson Airport. So he was going to be heading down to Toronto that weekend to show up, and nobody will ever come. And I tried to convince him of this, and he wanted no part of what I had to tell him.
Well, the cards are untraceable.
Yes, that's right. That's right. So he basically told me to mind my own business, and he can spend his money on whatever he wants. So.
But if I want to buy an Apple card, example, to send to my nephew in Montreal, how do I know that it's not a bad card?
Because the serial number on the back hasn't been scratched off. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Microsoft Scam, that's the computer one where you get a message. CRA Scam, these are just different examples that you might see. This here, see where that font is a little bit different? And it's a little bit different color. There's an underline on it. On my screen, it doesn't show up on the projection, but on my screen, if I move my scroll around, it's an arrow. And you'll see this on your computer at home. If you move your mouse around, it's an arrow as I go around. As soon as I move that arrow over top of this section here, it turns into what? A hand. So now that gives me the option, as soon as it's called a URL. I don't even know what that stands for, but it's a fancy term for, if I click on that URL or that link, it'll probably bring me to a place that I don't want to be. And that's where the scammers will get you, and they'll have access, possibly have access now to your computer or whatever other malicious things that they want to do with you to try to extract money. So you never, ever, ever want to click if you're going down here and you think, oh, well, CRA sent me some money, because CRA always does that, right? They always give us refunds. Absolutely not. And you bring your mouse over top of that URL, you accidentally might click on that. And you see it, the screen will change and you'll go into a site where you don't want to be. If that ever were to occur, please power off your computer. Even better yet, like on a laptop, I would just power that off. But if it's a mainframe computer, pull the plug, pull the power source, leave it for at least an hour or a day for some people. It'll just give some time for that scammer or whoever's trying to gain access to your electronic device to possibly just give up and move on to somebody else or something else. The trick here, or the message here, is just don't click on any of the URLs that you see that come in, because it's probably not a legitimate email that comes in. Those who have cell phones, you'll see tons of texting scams. I just gave an example of that one this morning. Again, these are URLs. You can see the font difference. They're underlined, different color. Don't click on them. Don't press on them.
I think what they call them is
Hyperlinks, yes, where they bring you to another site instantly. Call spoofing. The scammers are getting a little more, well, they have been a lot more tech savvy lately, so you may not see unknown caller ID come in or a number that you don't recognize, because they knew that if you saw that on your phone, on your caller ID, you wouldn't answer it. So now, yes, you can go on the internet and spoof a number. You can pick a number. You can get an assigned number to whatever you want and call it whatever you want for a short period of time. And that's what they're doing. So these scammers who are using CRA, Canada Revenue Agency, or Bank of Montreal, a financial institution, or whatever else that they claim to be, will actually spoof their identity. So it'll show up as a 613 area code, which is Ottawa area, So we think it's CRA calling. And it might even say CRA. It might even say Bank of Montreal. So if you see that, you're going to automatically think, well, that's them who's calling, so I'm going to answer it and listen to them. Just be aware that that's what they're doing. A telltale sign is if you answer the phone and there's a little bit of a pause. Okay? You'll say hello. You might say hello again and then again. It may take them 3 seconds, 5 seconds to answer. You know that's on a robocall system. And that's what they use, a computer-generated system that just spits out numbers, and they just call and call and call, and they try to catch one. So as soon as that pause happens and you say hello, now it's gone from the robocall system over to a call taker or somebody live. And it takes that couple seconds to get over to that person. So you know, okay, this doesn't sound right. And you might hear some clicking in the background, typing keys and stuff like that. Just hang up. Hang up. Don't engage with them. Don't try to get them back and all that other stuff that people say. There's lots of YouTube videos out there on scam the scammer and all that stuff. Don't engage, just hang up. They'll move on to somebody else afterwards. So.
Voice recognition one starting in the uprise too.
Pardon me?
Voice recognition. Because a lot of times you get on a phone and
Yes.
recognize your voice.
Yep.
and
Yeah.
That's later in your presentation. Is that on the uprise?
It is. A lot of places are using it now. Like they'll tell you, like Eastlink or different places will say you're already authenticated through voice recognition, or even Bell.
And that's how they get some of that through Lexus. And
Yeah.
that's how they've got people's voice recognition talking to devices at home.
Yeah. So you don't have to give them a password, or you don't have to give them your full name or date of birth and address and all that stuff. They just say,
The uprise, is it?
for sure.
So that's legit.
From what we've seen, we haven't had I haven't personally heard of any issues with it. So, or anything that's been compromised pertaining to that. So,
Kind of scary though.
yeah.
Letter called saying that it was her nephew to my friend. He probably hacked somewhere in there.
Probably.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
because-
I'm saying me personally, I haven't heard of any. That is a case though, for sure.
It was really
Yeah.
serious. That was something like $10,000. That's why she just said, no, my nephew will not ask me that, and she hang. And
Yep.
she called the nephew, and she knew that
Yep.
it was somebody who was bad.
Yep.
So
Sorry, Ron.
Yeah, my wife gets these calls, it always says likely spam,
Yep.
but we don't just hang.
Yep. No. So a lot of the phone companies have their own fraud detection. Rogers and Bell even has it. Fraud detection software that it'll automatically pick up on a scam number. So it'll tell you on your caller ID.
So this likely spam is
Yep.
more than likely
Yep.
to reach things.
Yep. Or it'll say likely scam or something. So just don't even answer it.
I usually Google search the number.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. These are just other types of scams. A prize scam, check overpayment fraud. We have seen a few of these, just different variations of these types of scams lately, pertaining to, and I was talking about this earlier with some people, in relation to Kijiji, Trader, Facebook Marketplace, anywhere, any social media platform where people are doing a lot of buying and selling. So anybody who accesses Kijiji knows right away that within 30 seconds of you posting something for sale, you're going to most likely get a scam text about somebody saying, hey, did you just post this 1985 Skidoo Blizzard? I'm really interested. What's your asking price? And then they instantly, you know it's a scam. Because they're going to offer to pay you the exact amount of money that you're asking for, and then they're going to ask for other places, other things. You know, can you give me the VIN number so I can run a VIN check? That's a classic question too. So the second you provide that VIN number, they now have access to your personal information, because if that vehicle is registered in your name, it's attached to your driver's license. If it's attached to your driver's license, it's attached to your license, all this other stuff. So that's all registered through the MTO. Now they have access to your name, your date of birth, your address, driver's license number. So they can use that information to now apply for credit somewhere. They want to start up their own phone account somewhere, that type of stuff. So that's why they're asking for that information. If in doubt, please ask somebody, a trusted source, or come down to the office and talk to one of the officers. Please don't just automatically think you have a good seller or a good buyer on the line and give them all that information. We just had one Thursday today, I think it was Monday, and this was a new one for me, where a gentleman came into the office to report, to wonder if he was being scammed, because he was selling his pickup truck online. And within 30 seconds of him posting it, he had a reply from a buying agency in Milton, I believe. And he said, there's no way this person's going to give me the 70 grand that I'm asking for. This has to be a scam, because right away they're telling me they want to deposit a check in my account and they're going to send a shipping company up to pick up my truck. So we automatically thought it was a scam. Right away, it's got to be a scam. There's no way this is real. So we did some research. We did some digging on our own. He left and I said, let me do some digging from my end. It ended up, long story short, it ended up being a legitimate company. And yeah, I know, I was surprised too. But what I learned in that was a lot of the scammers now, and this was coming right from one of the financial institutions in town, said that if they do a wire transfer or an e-transfer for whatever amount of money, in this case it was $70,000, and they deposit it into your personal account, you think you got that $70,000 instantly, right? It's in your account. So then they send up a company to pick up your vehicle or whatever you're selling. You think the money's in your account. They come up, they pick up the vehicle's gone. A day or two later, a week later, so they pull the money back out. And they can do that according to the bank because you're not set up with a deposit-only account. And this is what I learned from this gentleman who came in, and he said, I just spoke to the bank manager who set me up with a deposit-only account. The money got transferred into it, the $70,000. They came up the next day, they picked up the truck, and my money, they can't pull it back out. But if it were to be deposited into your regular account, and that's what a lot of the scammers are doing, they can still pull it back out.
And if they tried to pull the money back out, would it show on that account that they were trying to pull it out?
No, it'll just be gone.
No, but the deposit only, would it show?
No. They just can't access it. You wouldn't know. No, it's in there. And we thought by telling this agency, who we still thought was fictitious at the time, that, okay, send us the money, but it's going into a deposit-only account. We thought, okay, they're going to hang up the phone, or yeah, we're never going to hear from them again. But that's how we knew it was legitimate. She says, yep, give me the account number.
So what you're saying is you have to make another account?
Yes. And it doesn't cost you anything. The bank will set it up for you. They did it for this gentleman, and it was seamless. Yep.
So you have to set up another
Just a separate,
for this one?
just a deposit-only account, just to protect yourself. Yeah. Romance scams, I spoke briefly about that before. Dating romance scams, same type of thing. Inheritance scam, you've won $1 million, please send us $1,000 because it's locked in an account in Europe and we'll release the money to you. That type of stuff, right? The phishing scams through email, you'll see that the sites look very legitimate. It may, I think somebody in here showed me one earlier, it may look legitimate like a PayPal. It may look like a Netflix account. They're just going to steal that insignia or that emblem and make it look exactly like it. However, if you really look closely, you're going to see maybe some spelling mistakes, different areas that just don't look right.
I just read about PayPal and I learned something recently because that time that I bought with Just Fit, I did it with my credit card. PayPal keep all of your credit card and everything in memory, and they go by order. So the thing that the payment will pass will be my credit card. The second one will be my banking. But I did call PayPal, and they are very, very open.
Yes.
Just remove the
Yep.
card from that account. And what I did is I have a third account where if I want to do money, that account is, there's zero money all the time in it.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
And they are the one who suggest me to do an account like that. You deposit the money, then you order what you want. They cannot go further because it's always at zero. And it's worth $3.95 of fee at the bank.
So a lot of people will have a separate credit card through their bank as well and make it like a $500 limit or a $1,000 limit. And that's the card specifically that they only use for online purchases. Just in case it gets hacked or scammed or whatever, they can only take $500 or $1,000. On that topic though, PayPal is really good. Pretty much all financial institutions that we deal with in town here are very good at conducting their own types of investigations pertaining to scams and reimbursing you and coming good for it afterwards. It may take some time, but they've got their own fraud departments and stuff like that that they look into as well.
But
And
they also, the bank where I do business, they also offer me they sell MasterCard, credit card, that $500 period. $500 is done, gone, thank you, bye-bye.
Yep.
Another one, you could buy it.
you can buy the prepaid ones at the corner stores too. Yep.
Still French.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Email scam, same thing. Amazon, you can see the URL link at the bottom. Click here to enter your credentials. Don't fall for that. There's the PayPal one. There's the URL. Don't click on that. Vacation scams, we haven't seen too many of those. The charities. Service scams, we have seen some in town. Not lately, but last year I remember dealing with 2. Service scams, or they work in hand with the handyman scams, is that the example I'll give is it may come in or show on your phone as ABC HVAC, heating, ventilation, recovery, that type of stuff. This one, I forget, it showed up as a company from Sudbury. I forget even what the name of it was, but they would tell the person, hey, it's ABC HVAC, we're coming to Elliot Lake next week, and we've got a spring special on right now for the first 100 people to sign up with us. We'll give it to you instead of $99.99, we'll give it to you for $49.99. But you have to sign up with us right now and pay the $49.99. So we had a few people fall for that, paid the $49.99, and nobody ever does show up in the spring. So that's the handyman scam.
We got into a big Norton site one time, closed the Norton site, they called right away.
Yep. Norton, the antivirus one? Yeah.
They said that it wouldn't download, then call this number. I didn't call the number within about 2 minutes. They called it my number, telling me that they wanted access to the computer.
Yep. These are other just types of scams. We haven't seen too many of these, so I won't get into that in too much detail. There's the CAFC number, or the company that we deal with. So if you come in to report a type of scam to us here at our detachment, our resources are somewhat limited here locally. So a lot of the time we will refer you to call the CAFC. And we hear back from people who report to them that, well, they just took our information and they're not going to do anything. No, what they do is they keep track and they log all the information and all the different types of scams that are out there. And they have a database of this. So it's not that they're not doing anything, they're still investigating it, but it takes time, and there's a lot of resources that go into this to conduct these types of investigations.
The only thing is when you phone them, guys, the only thing you can provide that is a phone number that was given, you see on your
That's right. Yep.
But they ask you how long, what did they tell you?
Yeah.
What did they say? How long were they on the phone? Well, I was told to hang up.
Yeah.
So I can't give you other just
Yeah.
the spoof number that they have, so they can.
So that type of stuff, if you're hanging up, you don't need to report that to them.
Yeah.
If you're, you know, we're talking about more of the stuff where you actually do provide money or give money to them. Giselle, identity theft. I'll just touch on this really briefly here because we haven't seen too much of this in the past. But that's where I was talking about the online selling sites like Kijiji, like Facebook Marketplace, like Trader. You'll know right away when you get that instant message back or that email saying, I'm interested and please provide me more information and I'll pay your asking price. They'll give you all sorts of information, the kind of stuff you want to hear. Oh, I want to, I want to come up and see it, but when do you work till? Oh, okay, I'm going to come up next week, that type of stuff. They drag you through that whole rigmarole. What I always say is text them or email them or tell them to call you because they never will. If it's a scam, they will never talk to you in person. The second you ask them, call me, you have my number, we'll talk about this on the phone, you'll never hear from them. But if you ever do find yourself in that situation, they're going to ask you for a VIN check, and that's what they're after. If you provide that VIN number of a vehicle that is registered in your name, they will now have access to your registration through the Ministry of Transportation, linked to that vehicle through your plate. So they've got your driver's license information. And that is where they're going to start possibly accessing, they're going to call Eastlink Cable to try to get a cable bill in your name. They're going to call a credit card company to try to get a Visa in your name, that type of stuff. What to do? This is what I was talking about before. These are the two credit bureaus that we deal with here in Ontario and Canada. These are the only two. So if you ever get a message from another company or agency that's providing or that's offering credit services and to please provide your SIN number to do a credit check, and it's not Equifax or TransUnion, it's a scam. Those are the only two. And both of those agencies, Equifax and TransUnion, will allow you to do one free credit check per year where you don't have to pay for that. And you can contact them online or by phone, and they'll guide you in the direction as to which form to fill out. You submit it, you'll get something in the mail, hard copy, and it'll show exactly everything in your credit history.
So what about Brotherwell and Credit Karma?
Any what, sorry?
Brotherwell and Credit Karma?
They go through these two.
Yeah.
Yes. They're just subsidiaries of Equifax and TransUnion. Yes. So those types, yes, you could go through there, but those are the two ones, main. I know what you mean though. Credit Karma is free. You just type your stuff in. Yeah. A lot of online stuff. There's just some numbers again, the CAFC number, email, Equifax, TransUnion, and us, the OPP. I'm always available at the office, typically Monday to Friday, and if I'm not there, somebody can get in touch with me and I can return a call or an email or whatever happens to be. If in doubt with anything, a call, an email, a text, please check with somebody before you go down to the store and buy gift cards or start sending money or anything. A trusted person, a neighbor, a friend, a family member, us at the office, somebody, just check with somebody, please, before you start getting wrapped up in this. And somebody will be able to tell you, hey, that, if it's too good to be true, it usually is, right? The old saying. Check with somebody. We'll be able to tell you.
I remember sometime in the email address that they sent you something, okay? There is always something like, example, in that case, there is no, okay, info at NC Fraud Center. Well, NC Fraud the word fraud will have a E and then center, it looks like it's real, but the
it's,
email address is
if you really look at it, it's a little bit different.
it's a little,
Yeah.
an E.
Yep. Exactly. So that's the anatomy of that phishing email, right? If you really look at what's in there, you're going to pick off some mistakes. And a professional organization like a financial institution or PayPal or something like that, they are not going to send you an email with spelling mistakes in it, or grammatical errors, or whatever happens to be. So
Yeah, they pay somebody for that.
that's right.
I checked in with the bank and I asked them, because we're getting texts and emails about, you know, you owe or you have this and that. And they said, no, they don't phone, and they don't text, they don't email.
Mm-hmm.
They send you letters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or and you just take the letter with you to the bank and they'll tell you if it's true or not.
Yep.
Same thing for the government.
Yep.
They send letter, they
Mhm.
don't speak on the phone.
No.
And I'll tell you the same thing that I tell all the kids at the school. Whatever happened to this? It's
Doesn't
gone.
exist anymore.
Doesn't exist anymore, right?
They're right beside each other, texting
That's right.
each other.
So get in your car, get on the bus, go for a walk, go down to the bank and talk to somebody at the bank and say, hey, I just got this text or this email. Does this look right to you? And they'll be able to tell you as well.
And when they sell something on the online, example of service, I said, well, send me a representative because on the phone I will not do it, you know. So, and most of the time they hang when it's a hacker.
I pick on the kids a lot, and I don't mean to, but I just do it for fun because I have two kids that I am always on top of all the time too. And they can't get off those darn phones.
I found ever since COVID,
Oh, hang on. Sorry, Giselle.
How hard is it to prove that you've been identity theft?
That's a good question. It's a bit of a process for sure, and it depends on to what extent that the person or people are what they're doing. Like how many credit cards did they apply for? What did they buy? Did they go buy vehicles? Did they, you know, that type of stuff in your name? In a year they could do a lot. Yeah. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They can do a lot in a day. Yeah, that's right.
Owned a business and they used the banking machine
Mm-hmm.
at the bank and they had one of those scanners on it.
Mm-hmm.
Between, I don't know if you're familiar with the Napanee area, but Napanee and Bell is about a half an hour away and their account was drained.
Yep. So it's funny you say that because I was talking to a group over at the Legion last week or the week before, and there's a lady in there who said that one of her friends came up to visit and she was staying at the Hampton, and she did some type of online purchase at the Hampton, and somebody also staying at the Hampton, or maybe it was sitting outside in the parking lot, got a hold of her credit card number and charged $6,000 worth of purchases to it.
They can do that within 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm. So that was just locally here. That just happened here. So. Yeah. Did you have another question?
yeah, I noticed since COVID, the lockdown, everything electronic is progressed faster than if we wouldn't have had the lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wouldn't have a computer if it wasn't for my kids. I don't have a smartphone. I have a old-fashioned flip phone that I cannot get email or anything on it, just talk and text. My kids get mad at me because I'm an old fogey.
I know.
I'd rather be safe than sorry.
I know. And I tell I reach back to the kids and when I talk to them at the schools and I say, the days of me going in to apply for a job, or a school now, post-secondary education, right? Those with kids. And I go in and I bring this in. It's called a resume, kids. It's on a piece of paper. And they're all like, what? What is that? And I hand that resume in, and the employer reads it or the school reads it, and they say, oh yeah, Phil Young did this and this and this and this, and he looks like a good candidate. We're going to bring him in for an interview. Before they even look at this on paper, they already know what you're all about. Because the first and foremost thing that they're doing, employers and post-secondary education schools, what they're doing is they're running your name on social media. First and foremost. And they're checking out Facebook pages, and they're checking out Snapchat, and they're checking out TikTok, and they're because the Phil Young that's on my resume right here is a completely different Phil Young that's sitting behind this when I get home, right? Or on this when I get home. So, again, I can't stress that enough to them. That almighty digital footprint that we spoke of earlier, that'll follow you. You may think it might not affect you in grade 7, 8, 9, and 10, but it does. And that stuff, those inappropriate pictures or those texts or those Facebook pages or posts of you at a party and you're drinking and your friends took a picture, you passed out and you're puking all over the place. I don't know, whatever it happens to be. Long time ago we could get away with that stuff, right? Because our friends didn't come up and take a picture of us and post it to social media because we didn't have that issue. Right? But now, that's the first thing that comes out. As soon as somebody does something stupid at a party or out in the public, I see it every day with our job even. The first thing that somebody does is sticks a phone in your face and they're taking pictures of you and they post it. So that employer or that post-secondary school, they have access to that stuff. They're gonna see that, and they won't even consider you as an applicant if they see what you're doing behind on social media. They don't care. They won't even bring you in for an interview.
What
So.
surprised me is I got a hold of my college there about 4 years ago because I had to get some paperwork from them. And actually, my student number was my social insurance number back then. People don't realize that if you graduated quite a few years ago,
Yeah.
your numbers in the school system is a social insurance number. They took that out and actually give me a student number.
Yeah,
But, they won't do that unless you get a hold of them and tell them.
that's right.
So if they get a hold of even where you went to university or college, most of us at our age are probably registered under our social insurance number as your student number.
Good to know.
There's a show on TV, it's new, it's for police checking, murders and crimes and that, and it's electronic eye.
Oh, okay.
And it shows it. I watched one and was fascinated. They had no proof or physical evidence, but they got the guy from the electronics, and they were exactly what you were saying. Everything backtracked on his phone, his computer, his car, even GPS, everything. It showed.
And unless you disable it in your phone, you're tracked as you walk around with your phone, GPS, and
Yeah, they were able to get him. It's a good program on TV, brand new.
yeah.
People posting that on Facebook that they're in Mexico and they wonder why they're broken into. Tell me I'm
I know.
not home.
Tell the world I'm not home.
Exactly.
So that's it, ladies and gentlemen, for the presentation. I know we had some questions, and if there's any issues afterwards, whoever wants to talk, we can talk after, but yeah, that's